Our speaker for Youth Sunday will be the Elder Robert Clark. Elder Robert Clark. And then on June 12th, we will have the AED training. That's the 2 sessions. One is from 8 till noon. And the second session is 1 to 5. Anybody can sign up to participate. I'm expecting to get some information as to how you sign up shortly, but anybody can sign up and participate. The cost of the class is $50, and that money goes to the trainer. All right, goes to the trainer. All right. Okay. All right. I got a little notice that said that my battery is running low. I may want to plug in. Bible study tonight. Let's begin with a word of prayer. I'm going to ask if you, Sister Winters, would open us in prayer as we go into the actual class.
Oh God, thank you. Pray for people on asking our heart, God, that pours into us the very word of knowledge, oh God, that we receive, oh God, that we may grow thereby, oh God. We ask this in the name of Jesus. We give you thanks and praise.
Amen. All right, thank you very much. Okay, tonight we are continuing our study in 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel. We'll begin at chapter 3, verse 22. I have some questions on here that I'm going to be asking people. So kind of be prepared to discuss. We'll pick up your voice. Deacon Arthur, I think, has a microphone that can go around the room. These are the 8 things that we're going to discuss tonight. We'll talk about Joab learns of Abner's departure. Joab learns of Abner's departure, and we'll fill that in a little later. We'll talk about Joab accuses Abner of spying. Joab accuses Abner of spying. The third will be Joab slays Abner to avenge his brother. All right. 4, David curses Joab for Abner's death. David curses Joab for Abner's death. Then we'll talk about David mourns for Abner. And then we'll talk about the murder of Ishbosheth. The murder of Ishbosheth. A lot of violence that goes on in this. 7, Abner's head is brought to David. Abner's head is brought to David. And then finally, we'll talk about the execution of the assassins. The execution of the assassins, with this whole business of trying to maintain power and stay on top and figure out who's friends and who's foe can really be a challenge. So let's go with it. All right. This is background that I've shared the last couple of weeks, and I just want to share it again to refresh your recollection. All right. The book of 2 Samuel is essentially about the enthronement and reign of David as king of Israel. So we are now at the point where we are seeing the way is being cleared for David to move into the kingship. The second thing I want you to note is that David is depicted as a true, albeit imperfect, representative of a theocratic king. A theocratic king. This is a king of a country where the ultimate rule is God. And the belief is that the king is actually an instrument of God, anointed by God to serve the people. In it, one sees David initially anointed as king over the tribe of Judah at Hebron, and later, at the death of Ishbosheth, he is accepted by the remaining tribes as their king. All right. captures Jerusalem from the Jebusites. Remember the Jebusites? They are one of the Canaanite groups that were in the Promised Land. He captures Jerusalem from the Jebusites, makes it the capital of the nation. And later, he brings the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem, firmly establishing the lordship of Jehovah over the nation. Also, under David's rule, the nation prospers, conquering neighboring people and unifying the nation. One of the big points of David's reign is that the nation becomes more unified. I've said this before, but I want to repeat it again because I need you to get this picture. The various tribes are not necessarily unified. They are kind of fractured. I mean, we talk about the children of Israel, there is an identifiable group, but sometimes you have the Benjamites doing something, you have the tribe of Judah doing something, you might have the tribe of Naphtali doing something, and so they're not strictly unified. But in this, one of the things that David does is pulls the nation together so that it is an identifiable nation. All right. Second Samuel also depicts the darker side of David's reign, including his liaison with Bathsheba. Everybody remembers that? Nobody remembers that. And the death of her husband, his leniency with two of his three rebellious sons, Amnon, Absalom, and Adonijah, and with his military leader, Joab, and in Absalom's rebellion. So we see the darker side of his reign. David's successful reign and continued relationship with God became the standard by which other kings' reigns were measured or assessed by what David did. And you can, as you read through Samuel, and you look through the Kings, and you read through the Chronicles, they're always comparing those kings to David. All right, don't miss these themes. These are themes that I want to make sure that everybody catches as we go through. First, the fallibility of human leadership versus the infallibility of God's leadership. Next, the gravity and consequences of sin. Gravity and consequences of sin. You can sin, but you got to pay for sin. God is gracious and he is forgiving. He is gracious and he is forgiving. It's important that believers depend on God in all that they do. One of the things that you'll see is people depend on God for a while, they get established, and then they forget about God. And of course, they find themselves in difficult places. God's unconditional covenant, and it's most specifically, I want to talk about the Davidic covenant, the covenant that God made with David and what it has to do with Jesus. The complexity of good and evil in human beings. All of us have some good in us, and all of us, if you mess with us wrong, have some bad. But the human beings are complex, and we need to stay under the power of the Holy Spirit. And then finally, a perfect God works through imperfect people. All right, questions from last week. How does Saul's commander-in-chief, Abner, become David's ally? And what was the precipitating event? Can I start with you, Sister Torain?
Abner saw that Ishbosheth was not actually, that side of Saul's army was failing, and David was winning, and he killed Amnon. Did he kill Amnon? He killed one of the Israelites, I don't remember his name.
Asahel.
Okay, he killed him. And it was after that that he decided he wanted to be a part of David because Saul's army was losing.
Okay. But do you remember that there was an accusation made about him?
Okay.
I just said the word. Was he accused of liking somebody's wife? Yeah. That's all I was gonna say.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Saul's con.
Ishbosheth made that accusation. That's exactly right. And that upset Abner, right?
Right.
And as a result, well, that sort of contributed to the fact that Abner said, well, you know, I'm not fooling with y'all. I'm not doing it.
Am I a dog's head?
Right. All right. The second question, this has already been answered. What happened to Asahel? Sister Torain just talked about it. And my last question is, David has not yet become king of all Israel. What is he king of, and where were his first and second anointing? That's it. Sister Winters.
His family.
Which was
When the oil flowed from the horn of Samuel, he was out there with the sheep, and they had brought him in, and that was the first
that's
anointing.
first anointing. Where is that? What
Oh.
location?
Oh, well, Bethlehem.
Bethlehem. That's right. Sister Winters, thank you, Sister Winters. No, I'm not done. I'm messing with you. Okay. And where was the second anointing?
I want to say Jerusalem,
Not yet. He hasn't conquered Jerusalem yet.
Hebron.
Hebron. That's right. Hebron. That's right.
I think I heard that from across the room.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Okay, very good. Thank you. Just want to see if people are paying attention. All right, so let's begin 2 Samuel chapter 3, verse 22. Everybody there? Let's see who we have on. I see Sister Richmond is here. There's Audrey Lane, which means that Miss Mabel Farish is on. Audrey is Mother Mabel Farish's daughter. Good to see you in Bible study again. There's Sherry. God bless you. This is Jackson, Evangelist Jackson. And I see Evangelist Barbara Johnson is on. So I'm glad to see you all. All right, let's begin. 2 Samuel chapter 3, verse 22. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from pursuing a troop. The servants of David and Joab. Who is Joab?
General.
He is a general,
David's
that's
general.
right. He is a commander-in-chief of whose army?
David.
David's army. He is also David's what?
Cousin, nephew.
Nephew. He's his nephew. He is Zeruiah's son, right? Zeruiah is who?
David's sister.
David's sister, exactly. We pointed that out because people are typically not identified by their mother, they're identified by their father. But in this case, and we don't know what's so special about her, but in this case, all three of her sons are identified by her. Okay. Joab. Who?
I had a question before we begin, because I'm wondering if we're going to address this
Okay.
as we go through the information. But it seems to me that people think David was a great leader, and I know he was a man after God's own heart, but he's described also as a great leader. And you said earlier that the monarchy was designed sort of after his rule. So my question is, why? Because you mentioned a couple of things that have bothered me as I read. He didn't rule his house well. He didn't take care of the issues that needed to be taken care of. When people did wrong, even in his government, he warned it, but there was no punishment, no addressing the issue in my mind. So I just wanted to know is why is he seen as such a great leader?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mentioned that, and I was talking about sort of the themes that we should consider and think about. He is considered a great leader, and I would say that he was a great leader. But all those things that you've identified are true as well. And that's part of the complexity of having humans in leadership, having humans reigning over people, is that their flesh and their emotions and their prejudices sometimes pop through. And in this case, David, that happens with David a lot. I mean, just think about the woman.
What makes him a good leader? Is
Oh.
it because he was strategically a great warrior?
Well, he starts off, he starts off as a great leader before he becomes king, when he is running from Saul. Saul is chasing him with 6,000 soldiers, and he only got 500, you know. And so he is able to move them from place to place successfully. He is able to negotiate with Jewish men, Jewish landowners, to get from them. This is the problem with Nabal. Remember Nabal? He says, you know, look, we looked after your sheep and all this kind of stuff, so we need you to bless us, to help us, to give us, and Nabal wouldn't do it. But that was a methodology that he used to sort of pull the men that he pulled together were not the
Soldiers.
not the best and the brightest,
Skilled.
and were not, you know, they wasn't from high class families or anything like that. But he was able to whip them into a group, a working group. But there was something else I was going to say. Oh, the fact that he takes Jerusalem from the Jebusites. Now, yeah, and after we struggle a little bit with taking people's property, but that's that was the order of the day. Takes to Jerusalem from the Jebusites and makes that the capital of Israel. And having that capital then unifies the children of Israel. In other words, we look to that place, we look to that city as our city, which they had not had previously. They would have the Ark of the Covenant in various locations. At some point, they had it at well, Philistines had it at one point, but I mean, there would be places like, well, at Obed-Edom's house, they had it, you know, that. But to now have it from moving around to a central location that gives focus to the nation. I mean, and he made some wise judgments, but not all of his judgments were wise.
Strategically, as a warrior, true enough. But as you said earlier, it's a complex description. And I think that when we talk about great leaders, the Bible describes great leaders in the New Testament, ruler of your household, you know, able to rein your own self in. He couldn't do that either. You know, he just sort of gave in to his passions and things of that nature.
Right.
So I guess
I think this is a great line of questioning because we do see the duplicity. We do see somebody who's good and bad, you know, took the man's wife and then killed the man, right? And killed the man. But then you see Psalms 51, he's over. Right, but created me a clean heart and renew. No, you can't, but you can repent, right?
Right. Right.
I have problems with leadership.
Yeah, no, I get it. I do too. I love David. I mean, anybody who knows me has been around me a while. They know I love David. But
I think
I must agree with you that he is not a perfect person. Maybe that's why I like him. It's because he is not painted as a perfect person. Oh, okay. Let me go here. There's Melton is here. Von Franklin is here. Let's see. Evangelist Barbara Johnson says, I would suggest that David had his weaknesses. Yes. just as we all do. His leadership skills were given to him by God, and he did repent when he was found in sin. Yes, okay. Sherry Jackson says David had a gang. She says David was a man of war, and he was a great warrior. He was that. Then Evangelist Barbara Johnson says again, David also showed mercy, justice, and fairness. His just rule was grounded in his faith in God, yet he was just a man. Okay, and Coco is here. All right. Ready, y'all? Let's go. 1 Samuel 3:22. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from pursuing a troop and brought in a great spoil with them. Spoil is what?
Goods from the land that they conquered.
Okay. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. But Abner was not with David in Hebron. Abner is who again?
Saul's general.
Saul's general. For he had sent him away, and he was gone in peace. When Joab and all the host that was with him were come, they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and he had sent him away, and he is gone in peace. They were not happy that he had sent him away in peace. This is my commentary. Joab, David's nephew and commander-in-chief, has returned from making mischief against David's enemies. When he arrives, he's told that Abner has been to visit with David. David is unhappy that Abner has been able to leave without suffering some consequence for killing Asahel, and that is Joab's brother,
Right.
David's nephew. Appears that David is not too quick to take revenge on those who are perceived to be his enemy. The examples here are Saul. Remember that?
All right.
What happened to Saul? 2 times.
He snuck into his camp once while he was asleep, and he took his water from him or his cruse by his head. And then another time when when Saul was asleep with his men in the center of his men. And another time is when Saul was in the cave, and David went in and cut his the tassels off his skirt. He could have killed him then.
That's right. That's right. And his men didn't understand that. They don't understand why he didn't kill
No,
him, right?
they
'Cause
couldn't figure it
trying
out.
to kill
No.
him.
No,
right?
no,
They didn't get that. This is now.
No, he had to drop on him. Do it now, David.
Right.
But David knew.
Right.
He had his reasons for not doing it. When he explained it to the men, then I guess they got it.
Right. And so here we see this happening again. David allows Abner to leave, and the men who are under him, they don't get it. You got Abner. You got Abner. Abner was really the man who was the one who was doing the fighting,
Right.
for Saul. But apparently David saw it differently. Right. All right. Then Joab came to the king and said, What hast thou done? Behold, Abner came unto thee. Why is it that thou hast sent him away? And he is quite gone. Thou knowest Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive thee. Who's talking? Joab. Deceive thee, and to know thy going out and thy coming in, and to know all that thou doest. I don't know if I put this in. Okay, so Joab confronts David, right?
Right.
Concerning David's decision to allow Abner to leave. He confronts David. One of the things I guess I wanted to just point out is that this is one of the people who can confront him, who can say something to him. You know, some cases, if you're the king, you just better keep your mouth shut, because I don't want anybody to oppose, right, off with the head, right? But Joab and the other place, does anybody remember at the end of 2 Samuel? We haven't gotten there yet, but this y'all might remember this. David wants to number the people. He wants to take a census.
Census.
Right. I remember Joab is the one. Why would you do that? Why would you even think about that, right? And but Joab apparently has that kind of relationship with David that he will take counsel or take, I won't use the word rebuke, but what he's really trying to get David to do is think about that again, or think about that some more. Think of, so here we see Joab confronting David about his decision to allow Abner to go. Abner is really upset because Joab is upset because Abner killed his brother, but he pretends that the problem is that he is concerned that Abner was spying. Apparently, Joab has a very special relationship with his uncle David. We see him in other places in Scripture making the king think twice. All right, verses 26 and 27. And when Joab was come out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, which brought him again from the well of Sarah. But David knew it not. And when Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly. I think that word means privately. Smote him there under the fifth rib. He stabbed him. That he died for the blood of who? Israel, his brother. All right. So Joab is bound and determined to pay him back for killing his brother. Okay. Would you say that Joab should have been disciplined for going in a direction that is contrary to what the king of Judah is directing? My question to you. Is this treason or maybe just insubordination? Right? Insubordination. Okay. Anybody else want to add something? I think you should be punished too. That's like not following a direct command. It's from the king. Those of us who've been supervisors wouldn't take that much from our subordinates. We might give them a little latitude, but not that. I'm keeping this guy alive, and you decide you're gonna kill him. That's something we can't even undo. Do you think that every leader needs someone in his or her life that is able to have him or her consider the contrary position when they make a decision?
Accountable partner.
Okay, I didn't type it right, which is why I was fumbling with it. Do you think that every leader needs someone in his or her life is able to have him or her consider the contrary position when they make a decision?
Yeah, accountable partner.
Yeah.
I think we all should have an accountable partner.
Right.
Because anything other than that, you're just a loose cannon on deck. But when I'm thinking back on that, I think Joab, it was twofold. I don't know if David or Abner actually knew. Abner actually controlled Ishbosheth. Ishbosheth was a very weak king. Abner was a strong person. Joab knows strength. He said, no, I can't let this guy get too close to David because my job is threatened, cousin or no. Mm-hmm. He's smart enough that he'll wipe me. He could possibly wipe me out. So he killed my brother. I'm hot about that too. But now he's after my job.
So you think that he has an ulterior motive?
I think he has an it doesn't say it.
No, right.
It doesn't say it. But he's smart enough. I believe Joab didn't get to that level being a fool.
Mhm.
He knows Abner didn't get to that level being a fool. He knows Ishbosheth was a weak king.
Mhm.
He knows that. He knows that David was a strong man. Abner knew that David was going to be king. He said that. He said, I know now, so I need to go over on his side because he's winning.
Mhm.
I need to save my life, and at any cost. Joab may have to go one day.
Okay.
Joab knew
Say
that.
that last part that you said. You said you think David went over to Abner's position?
No, Joab,
Oh, Joab said,
Abner went over to,
sorry, I got distracted by
yeah,
that.
and he said I'm going over here now
Mhm.
and try to get this stuff. Joab said, I can't have him over here.
Mhm.
I can't have him anywhere near the king
Mhm.
because he has that type of influence that he may possibly, it may, even though we're cousins, but we're talking about politics now.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, one of the things we do see and know is that um, Abner is savvy.
Yeah, of course, no doubt.
He was trying to set Ishbosheth up, and when he
Right.
saw that Ishbosheth wasn't,
He couldn't
he
cut the mustard.
went around the way to try to get to David. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the political
Right.
machinations are real.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And that's what I just believe that Joab, he knew in his life's history, he knew all of this is a very strong possibility. You killed my brother, I want you for that too. Now you're after my job. Because I thought that when Ishbosheth told Joab, spoke to him about sleeping with the concubine, I believe it was the concubine, and Joab railed back on the king. And the king didn't, he knuckled under. He says, I don't know who you think you're talking to,
Mhm.
but he didn't. And Abner knew then he's a weak man. David is a strong man.
Mhm.
He would never have taken that.
Mhm. Right.
Joab knew that. But
Right.
that's just my thinking.
Right.
think it's, I was wondering, one, we don't know what David was thinking. I don't really, but I think Abner had some nerve to approach the king, actually killed my nephew.
That's right. Yeah. He didn't care. He didn't care.
And then the fact that you're the commander in chief of Saul's army, I already have a commander. It's gonna be conflict.
It's
Right,
gonna
right.
be conflict. Yeah. That's yeah. But he took that chance. He gambled and he lost. Joab said, I'm gonna smoke him under the fifth rib. Nah. He had to kill him. I think Joab had to kill him. There's no way he could allow him to. He had to kill him. He could not. You can't let a person like that. I don't mean to sound like this.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
But it's just it was no two ways about it. You know.
I mean, it seemed like bloodshed was just no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Like,
Right.
they even had their cut off, man, you know.
Yeah. And then show everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we.
No, it is cruel.
I didn't mean to get off track, but
No,
that's-
you are not, you're not off track. Those are the questions that I'm asking. Well, here's the last one. The last one was, do you think that Joab was justified in should be killing Abner, and why or why not? And I heard you just talked about that. Politically, you felt like he had to do it.
So your title is about clearing a path to the throne. So, are you saying that this is all part of in the divine plan? To bring him to the throne to kill off any pretenders to the throne, if you will. Abner, he cleared already Saul and Jonathan, all, you know.
Ishbosheth,
Well,
maybe.
he does die eventually.
yeah, and Mephibosheth, you know.
He was lame, but they didn't kill
Yeah,
him.
right. No, he didn't kill him, but I think he was probably less of a
But it
threat.
just seems like everybody has to die in order for him to get to the throne.
Right.
So, you know, I still don't think he had to kill Abner. Put him in jail.
Locked him up? Okay. All right, chapter 3, verse 28. And afterwards, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before the Lord forever from the blood of Abner, the son of Ner.
Mhm.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
We didn't do it. We don't want no
didn't-
parts of that.
Right. And the king didn't give the order to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's that's his point, that it ain't my fault. Let it rest on the head of who? Joab. Only problem is though is that Joab is of your house and he's also your commander in chief. But let it rest on the head of Joab, because if you are the head of the thing, you do bear some responsibility for
Authority.
your subordinates.
Right.
That's it. Right.
Take that back.
Yeah.
No, but what you're saying is right. Yeah. So let it rest on Joab and on all his father's house, and let there not fail from the house of Jacob Joab, one that hath an issue, or that is a leper, or that leaneth on a staff, or that falleth on a sword, or that lacketh bread. All right?
He want no part of that.
Say it again.
That's taken up with weak,
He wants no part of that mess.
If anyone is weak or lame, don't blame anybody but those that are, help.
Let the blame fall on Joab. Let the blame
He
fall
wants
on
no
Joab.
part of that.
Yeah.
He wants his hands, who is it? I'm watching my hands with that there. Dave,
Dave,
he's
let
not,
there not fail from the house of Joab one that hath an issue. Somebody's bleeding or pussing or something. Or that is a leper. He's speaking all of this over Joab's future house.
right.
Or that leaneth on a staff. Let there always be somebody with an infirmity be in Joab's house for killing
Because
his
of that.
man. That is a curse.
Yes, sir.
So Joab and Abishai, his brother, slew Abner because he had slain their brother Asahel at Gibeon in the battle. Well, I'm gonna try to go on, but I do want to. They are saying something over here. Coco said, yes, you always need someone to make you consider all options and realize possible consequences. Okay. Evangelist Johnson says, I also think Abner swayed with the tide. He switched sides when it was convenient for him. Yes. Okay. Melanie says, thank you for enlightenment, sis, because I was struggling with that. And there's Amina. Oh, she just says good evening from Nain, Jamaica. Okay. All right. Somebody from Jamaica is watching us. Okay. 30. So Joab and slew Abner. We'll go to the next slide. Commentary. Do you think that David is appropriately denying responsibility for the death of Abner? I think we already said no to that. I don't see how you can. He's your surrogate. He's your general.
He's Jeff,
Yeah, he's
top man.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. He says, "Let the blame before God be on Joab's head. Would it not have been appropriate from him to deal with Joab directly?" I mean, essentially, all he does to Joab, all that the text records that he does to Joab, is just gives him, put a curse on him, verbal curse. When what he should have done was demoted him, right?
David claimed why let the enemy
Into his camp.
enemy who killed his nephew come in and leave in peace. To me, there's a need for an explanation. I'm the captain of or the general of the army. You know, we're here, David, Joab and Abner. So give me an explanation why you let him go free. Which one?
Abner.
You talking about
Abner.
letting Abner go free?
Right.
David letting Abner go free. To me, that's a problem with
But they're in
leadership.
war.
Huh?
The way I see it is they're in
But,
war.
But they weren't in war at that time.
But-
Abner came to be.
but David was,
David had won the battle. That's why he was there.
Mhm.
but David was on his way up to kingship. And Abner was in the process of assisting him with the people on that side. It's all political. And David didn't want his hands involved in any of that because he wanted to be, he knew he was going to be king and he wanted that pathway. No problems.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't want any problems.
And Abner was gonna help him get
And
there,
Abner was going to help him.
help him get there.
He was, that was
So
his
there's
whole
no great
purpose.
love for Abner. There's great politics. with
It's all politics.
Okay, all right. All right. What say you, Sister Winters?
Still.
You're the only one in here.
Huh.
I started saying you're the only one in here with military background. Deacon
Well,
Arthur's
I don't mean
a
nothing.
veteran.
I'm a nurse. But I still have a problem with killing the general. But I do agree with you all. He is playing both sides, and that piece right there is political. Because he's still propping up Ishbosheth. But the same kind of issue that what I see is, okay, he's mad at Ishbosheth because Ishbosheth accused him, and Joab is over here upset with him for killing his brother, and both of them have personal reasons for what they're doing. So yeah, I'm just sitting over here, kind of.
Brother Tate, you can jump in here anytime you feel like it. Anytime you feel it, just jump right in. Okay, I guess you kind of answered this question for me. What would you have done to Joab?
Got the time. You got the time, right? They just kill all their opposition. So, I don't know, put them in the tower. Do they have? Punish them though, at the very least.
Punish them.
I think we should.
Okay.
I think he should have been addressed, but I don't think I just think David should have been more forthcoming.
And there again is my question about leadership. I agree.
And
Okay. All right. All right, let's go to 2 Samuel 3:31. David said to Joab and to all the people that were with him, rend your clothes, gird you with sackcloth, mourn before Abner, and King David himself followed the bier. Y'all got the picture? And they buried Abner in Hebron. And the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. What y'all think? All right, let me read the next line. The king is following the bier, and he is crying. And when the people see him crying, they're crying. Oh, yeah, well, I hadn't thought about that. It does.
The general from Saul's army crying and carrying on, and your own general is the one that killed him.
And the king lamented over Abner and said, died Abner as a fool dieth. Thy hands were not bound, nor thy feet put into fetters. As a man falleth before wicked men, so falleth thou. And all the people wept again over him. When all the people came to cause David to eat meat while it was yet day, David sware, saying, so do God to me, and more so, if I taste bread or aught else till the sun be down. It's to me, it's a little too much,
Yeah,
which makes me wonder if it's genuine.
genuine.
Is he just doing this so that the people will see it and they, oh my goodness, look at the king is crying, and everybody else starts crying.
Right.
And show. Well, back to your thing.
He
Is
said,
this really grief or is this politics?
Don't you think they should have been burying Abner, not David?
That makes sense to me because Ishmael is ascending through the line of Saul.
That's right.
And Jim.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
But remember though that Saul, he has left Ishbosheth because he's mad with him.
right.
He has left them and has started to negotiate with David so that they could work together. But the question is, does Ishbosheth know that at this point? Does he know that he has betrayed him? If you want to just use the word. But I had some questions about how genuine David's crying and mourning and all this. And to go back to Deacon Arthur's point, I hadn't thought about this until you said that, and whether or not that was political crying, crying because I want to get the rest of the nation. I want the other tribes to
That's right.
follow me. And I know that those Benjamites are not going to do it if I don't act like I'm sad about Saul's death. 36, and all the people took notice of it, and it pleased them. There it is. There it is right there. All the people took notice, and it pleased them. As whatever the king did pleased all the people.
He sets the tone.
He sets the tone, and they are obviously feeling sympathetic toward his grief. For all the people in all Israel understood that day that it was not of the king to slay Abner, the son of Ner.
That's right. That's right.
He didn't do it.
He had nothing to
He
do.
didn't do it. Joab them did it.
That's right.
Right? And the king said unto his servants, know ye not that there is a prince and a great man fallen this day in Israel? And I am this day weak, though anointed king, and these men, the son of Zeruiah, be too hard for me. He's criticizing his sister's children. Yeah. He's criticizing, they're too hard. Y'all too hard. Y'all just too hard. It wasn't too hard if they're saving his life, right? That's what they are, right? They are warriors. The Lord shall reward the doer of evil according to his wickedness. So rather than me doing something as the civil head that could mess up my political life, I'm going to put it on God and let the Lord handle them. I know, right? I don't mean to be so cynical, but that's kind of how human nature operates. It's customary in many ancient societies for people to fast during a period of great distress, as in the death of a loved one. David is mourning over the death of Abner and vows not to eat until the sun goes down. Possible political side of this is that Abner and David had been in negotiations concerning bringing the fractured nation back together under David's rule. It's possible that David's very public fasting was to say to those who loved Abner that he was sorry for his death, that he wanted to create an effort to unify the nation to continue. Or perhaps David is trying to show his integrity by denouncing unjustified violence. What y'all say? both. Mix both. All right. Chapter 4, verse 1. When Saul's sons heard that Abner was dead in Hebron, his hands were feeble and all the Israelites were troubled. Saul's son is who? Ishbosheth. Let me see.
Poignant, I think.
Okay, wait a minute, okay, yes. Abner killed, this is Evangelist Barbara Johnson, killed Joab's brother in self-defense, but Joab killed Abner in revenge, and also to save his position of military leadership. Joab showed disrespect of God's law for killing Abner out of revenge and not leaving it to God. Okay. Deacon Dunn says, this is a weakness in David's leadership. Just like it did not deal with Amnon after he raped his sister. The closer to David, the harder for him to discipline adequately. He meant rape. We got it, yeah. Yes, that's part of leadership that is sometimes hard, is when you have to confront people, but you have to do it. David ordered Joab to mourn. This is Evangelist Johnson again, because he didn't want any further trouble. David was thinking more about strengthening his kingdom than about justice. All right, so she comes down on the side of politics as opposed to justice. I say I still think he's a great leader. I'm not, and don't get me wrong, it's ain't that I don't think he has problems. And it's not that I don't think he did some bad stuff. Go ahead.
But I think that character-wise, that is the thing that makes you a poor leader, that you have problems. And maybe, I mean, we look at the guy in Washington now, he has problems. Oh, is he a great leader? Well, that was facetious, but if you have too many problems, then that is impacting your leadership. And again, Deacon Dunn even detailed it, his house was a mess.
Right.
His life had a lot of issues,
Right.
and he has a problem with confrontation. So I think that really comes down, and having been a leader, so this is a leader, I'm talking about civil leader in the workplace and so forth. Having been that, and you're right, you do have to confront, you have to sit folks down, tell them, I'm not liking the way things are going right now, and show them where. And let's put a plan together. And that's what he could have done with, I mean, I don't know if that would be reasonable for that time period, but let's put a plan together and let's fix this situation. And I mean, since we're supposed to use the word to bless us now, this is what I take away from it. I see a lack there. Therefore, going forward, as a leader, I think that something that should take place.
Okay, I agree.
But what makes someone, I don't need the microphone. What makes someone a good follower of God?
Pardon me?
What makes someone a great follower of God? What makes someone
A great follower.
Christian? Great actor?
I think for me, I mean, looking at these examples that we're looking at tonight, you can follow God and confront. You don't have to do it ugly. But being honest. In the first place, with God, we have to be truthful. If you're not doing something right, then I have to be truthful and let you know.
But can you fall and not get back up? Can you believe and
Not
not
if you
make a
kill.
mistake? Well, I mean,
That poor Abner didn't get a chance.
leaders all over the world kill. People in prison kill.
Well, that's
and are in prison.
But is it right?
It doesn't make it right. But you can be forgiven. You can humble
Well,
yourself.
that's what Pastor said.
Right.
I don't disagree.
You can-
You can, but the person is dead, so now.
I think the thing that
We
makes
can't-
David a good leader is his ability to understand or to kind of know and where to fall back to or where to come to for forgiveness. And not necessarily just being a leader like the guy in Washington and being wrong and staying wrong. Knowing that I'm wrong and humbling yourself to go to God to ask forgiveness. You know, I don't know the Bible, but you know, about forgiveness 7 times 77 or something along those lines. You know,
Right, but you're right.
his ability to humble himself, to think back in retrospect, and to make those course corrections. Yeah, you may fall again. I think that's what made him a good leader, and not being a stubborn king and making mistakes and continue to make a mistake and not acknowledge to make mistakes because you're a king.
Okay, all right. That's good. And I refer you back, I guess, to buttress Brother Tate's point, Psalms 51. After he has taken that man's wife and had the man killed and all of that. And then Psalms 51 records his prayer. It's, it's in the song.
Operated the way he did here in chapter 3, and then chapter 11, when he's with Bathsheba, there's no sense, no consciousness, nothing about what's right. And I'm a killer. What did Uriah do?
Full-fledged king.
Nothing. He was loyal to him.
Loyal, he
He
was
was
loyal.
That's loyal. Go in-
Wouldn't even go home.
Yeah.
That's what you're not thinking with right head.
But does that make him a good leader? It just makes him a man after God's own heart. That piece I agree with.
Right.
He's quick to ask forgiveness. But if I lead with my, as you said, and I'm just a person of passion, and because that's what I see, a person of passion, all kinds of passion. And if I'm angry, then I'm gonna fight like I don't know what. If I'm in lust, then that's what I'm gonna do. If I'm, I just don't see the leadership piece. A person to me who's a good leader is in control of themselves.
That's right. I mean, that's the best. I mean, yes, absolutely. If somebody's gonna be a good leader, they need to be in control of themselves.
Just think of it, the possibility of even the worst leader could be the best leader for what God's purpose is. Yeah, so the worst leader, God is going to use for the purpose of what he needs to use it for. So I need you to create this chaos and, let's just look at Trump, right? He exposed in his wrongness, he has exposed and changed things. We may not like it, but it's all in the purpose. Just like when what was the Pharaoh? He reminds me so much of Pharaoh. We needed that. We need what we need with Trump. Just like with Pharaoh. I'm just thinking, like, if you think of him in the same eye or light as you look at Pharaoh, you can really see the resemblance of what happened then as to what happened now. Free my people, and all of these things that he did and put in place, he would not free the people, but we needed him to do that because God's purpose was what it needed to be. So even the wrong leader,
That what you're saying? Ultimately, people were free, children of Israel, right? But they had to go through what they had to go through. Right.
and so what I'm saying is even the wrong leader could be the right leader. Because it's not up to it. We don't see we can't see the eye. We can't see the fine line. What God's purpose is, we can't see that. So he will put the wrong people in place in order to push the right agenda. Just like when, I don't know the Bible, like as far as
He'll
names,
allow the wrong
but
people to get it.
yeah, exactly. Just like when, God was trying to, when you preach about when he was going up to the cross and all of that stuff was going up to the cross, he said, no, this needs to happen. He put all of these wrong people in place just so he could, that could lead, so he can get to the cross. He cut, I can't think of the person's name who cut his ear off. He said, this is not the time for this. Yeah, and he picked his ear up, put it back on. He said, I need to proceed this way. So while we look at things as being wrong, I think it's like, it's a fine line between, even the right thing, even the wrong thing could actually be the right thing, or what God needs to have in place in order to push his agenda. So I was just, I mean, we could open our eyes up to something like, that could be a possibility.
Okay. All right. We can receive that. Let me see. Okay, were you getting ready to say something? I thought I heard you say something. Evangelist Johnson says, I think David was considered a great leader because of his courage, faith in God, humility, leadership despite his flaws. He was chosen by God and had God's favor over his life. Sister Richmond says, what I take away from this is that man is human. He's always going to do something that will be contrary to the word of God. And Deacon Dunn says, oh, there it is. Deacon Dunn says, David did not seek God and how to handle this problem. Instead, he deferred his responsibility. If he really wanted to make a sound political move, disciplining Joab was the best option. Yeah.
I don't know, was it?
We have a question, the
I
Deacon
mean,
Dunn, was it?
So Joab was his right hand man, right? And I get, yes, if I was in his position, I would have killed Joab, right? But in killing Joab, does Joab have a piece of his army? Does Joab have people who are loyal to him? If killing Joab, one, could it fracture my army? Two, if I'm quick to kill Joab and say I'm mourn Abner's death, and the country is still, or Israel as it was, is still we'll say fractured with a bunch of different tribes. Could this be a political thing? Well, I'm going to kill him, or I'm looking at David because he killed Joab quickly. Is he trying to hide something? Or will the other tribe rebel because of this? I mean, Joab should have died, but was David thinking more? Was the political thinking in if I kill him, will my army separate? Will the people, the other tribes outside join together, band together behind the death of Abner at the hands of someone in my family? So, I think it just got to a certain point where he just couldn't, and giving his show at the funeral was more helpful for him and his political agenda than it was.
Right,
Right.
I agree.
Okay.
So I think we all came around to political.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. All right, very good, very good. What was that, verse 2? And Saul's son had two men that were captains of bands. The name of the one was Bana. The name of the other was Rakab, the son of Rimmon, a Beerothite of the children of Benjamin. For Beer also was reckoned to Benjamin. This is this whole tribe thing. Even in the tribes there are subgroups, right? Even in the tribes there are subgroups presently. So apparently the Beeroth or the Beerothites were descendants from the tribe of Benjamin. The Beerothites fled to Gittim and were sojourners there until this day. And Jonathan Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. Was 5 years old when the tidings came to Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. Everybody remember Mephibosheth? In this case, called Saul's son is Ishbosheth. He is hoped to be enthroned in his father's stead through the good graces of Abner, but Abner is dead. And when Saul's son heard that Abner was dead, in Hebron, his hands were feeble and all the Israelites were troubled. Saul's son had two men that were captains of bands, and the name of the one, is it the same slide? Okay. Jonathan, Saul's oldest son, had a son named Mephibosheth who was injured in an accident. His nurse dropped him. Now that Saul and Jonathan were dead, this lame man has a claim to the throne. Question is whether he can persuade men to follow him. This less than perfect physical condition to reclaim the throne for his family. Remember that Saul is of the house of Benjamin. And the sons of Rem, the Beathite, Rekah and Baanah, went and came about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who lay on a bed at noon. And they came thither into the midst of the house as though they would have fetched wheat. They pretended to be coming to get wheat. And they smote him under the fifth rib. And Rechab and Baanah, his brother, escaped. For when they came to the house, they lay on his bed in the bedchamber, and they smote him and slew him and beheaded him and took his head off and took his head and got them away through the plain all night. These two brothers were Benjamites, killed the would-be king and contender for the throne. Note cruelty in beheading this man. Verse 8. And they brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron and said to the king, Behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, thine enemy, which sought thy life. And the Lord has avenged my lord the king this day of Saul and of his seed. The assassins are trying to curry favor. Assassins are trying to curry favor with the king. They take to David Ishbosheth's severed head. One must be careful. You can't assume that you know how one feels about another person, even if you see them at odds. For example, man and his wife could be bickering. Third party decides to take the wife's position in the bickering. The moment that third party jumps on the man to support the wife, she jumps on the third party because she loves the husband. Point is, you can't always jump into people's mess thinking that you understand the full dynamics. These guys did not. They think that David's going to be happy because they took Ishbosheth, killed Ishbosheth, but David is not going to be happy. And David answered Rechab and Baanah, his brother, the sons of Rem of the Beathites, and said unto them, As the Lord liveth, who hath redeemed my soul out of adversity? When one told me, saying, Behold, Saul is dead, thinking to have brought good tidings, I took hold on him and slew him in Ziklag, and thought that I would have given him a reward for his tidings. How much more wicked men have slain a righteous person in his own house, upon his bed? Shall I not therefore not require his blood of your hands and take you away from the earth? David commanded his young men that they slew them, cut off their hands, their feet, hang them up over the pool in Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth, buried it in the sepulchre of Abner, tomb of Abner. Remember that David had the same reaction when the Amalekite claimed to have killed Saul. David executed the Amalekite. Even though Saul and David were in conflict, they were both Israelites. The Amalekite had to back up. The execution of these men was public and brutal, designed to send a message. This is an important message as David moves forward toward the throne. This gratuitous killing, designed to curry favor with the king, was not to be tolerated. Any good leader would know his subjects, wants subjects to know that it is not how he wants to be impressed. By killing, they'll kill him for, and that is in questions, comments, ideas, thoughts, theological references, anything. Okay. All right. So if you would, for next week, pick it up right here, and we'll keep on going through till we finish 2 Samuel. And think about it deeply, and think about the political ramifications, and think about what God is doing. This is the point that Ashante was trying to make earlier, is that sometimes things seem like they're hard and bad when God is really allowing it so he can get the glory out of it. I understood you. Yeah. I know exactly what you said, but I wanted you to say it. And you use the example of Pharaoh. The Bible talks about Pharaoh heart. God hardens Pharaoh's heart because the children of Israel needed to go through some experiences for their good, for their betterment. So I agree with you. All right. Let me call the names of people who are on our prayer list tonight. We just try to call their names out loud so that we'll remember to pray for them. Emmanuel Bryant, Minister Bryant, Mother Marietta Carswell, Deacon James Dunn, who is on tonight, Sister Yashandra Jackson, Sister Annette Epifanio, Sister Charlotte Fisher, Deaconess Yvonne Franklin, who is on tonight, Sister Latondra Hicks, Brother Paul Kelly, Mother Phyllis Kelly, Sister Gloria Tate, Brother Maurice Pringle, Evangelist Cherry Love, Lady Tia McCoy, Brother Maurice Mayo, Sister Katina Brown, Sister Kimberly Wilborn, Sister Alexis McCamey, who actually had a fall. She's home in the bed. Sister Verdessa McDougall, Sister Marisha Morrow, Sister Tiffany Morgan, Mother Ruthie Mae Norris, Brother Christopher Totten, Sister Charlene Warren, Missionary Desiree Sessions, Deaconess Belinda Walker, Master Leon Boyce. Please pray for Leon. He's having a tough time right now. Sister Betty Buchanan, pray for Sister Buchanan, who is in a hospital in Florida. Sister Vivian Reed, Sister Vera Best, Brother Timothy Paul Etchison, Minister Peter Ray, Sister Simone Wheeler, Sister Princess Brooks, Mother Flora Warren, and Brother Carrington King Jr. Brother James Troublefield, Deacon David Torain, Elder Darrell Simmons, Bishop and Mother Fred Bronson, Brother Jerry Richardson, Brother Brian Price, Mother Helen Watson, Sister Letitia Evans, Brother James Eady, Sister Mary Alice Ruffin, Sister Dina Harris, Sister Mary Brown, Brother Kelsey Fitzpatrick Sr., Brother Kenneth Johnson, Sister Myra Burke, Brother Carlos McKeachin, Mother Delphine Johnson, Deacon James Malloy, Brother Marquise Evans, Brother George Lucas, Sister Keisha Robinson, Brother Derek Petaway, Sister Tanya Campbell. Please be much in prayer for her. She is going through a rough patch. And Brother Jude, I'm going to leave it at that because I don't know if I can even pronounce his name. This, what's her name? Ngazi's father. This is Ngazi's father. He's in Nigeria. Let us be in prayer for him. All right. And then, of course, we'll just to raise the offering, the ways to give. You see that in the Vanco app or Cash app or the church website, or you can mail tithes and offerings to the church, and or you can text to give. And the preferred method is for you to come, be in service on Sunday, bring your tithes and your offering, and the ushers will give you an envelope, and the deacons will give you a place to place it, and that's it. All right? Okay. All right. So that's going to end us for tonight. And thank you all for being here, and thank you for your contribution to the conversation tonight. It's always richer when we have more people thinking together. And you open this in prayer? Okay. Shante, can you close us in prayer? Amen. Thank God. I don't know if I got that. I do have money.